you and, first of all, your style of play, how you and D'Antoni mirrored so easily to transcend the game. That is the game today.
Yeah.
You guys were before his time, the true essence of before his time.
Well, I think it was right at the right time because the rules were changing too. So you couldn't like have two hands on a guy anymore. You know, when I came in the league, you could like literally hold a guy's hip and chuck him.
The old Derek Harper rule.
100%.
Rick Anthony lost it. Harper with the steal. And Harper puts it away.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this, right? I mean, you go across the lane, bam. Like, it was different, and that was the traditional way the game was played, that physicality. You know, the league, I think, wisely wanted to make it a more free-flowing, open, highlight the athleticism, which, you know, we're going to talk about it later, you know, where that's taken us and how we got here.
When looking through various eras in NBA history, whether it be the 60s, 70s, the 90s, or the 2010s, all those eras, players, and teams had their own set of rules and circumstances that they played in a specific time period. And of course, looking at basketball today, the conditions around the game, travel, recovery, just the general physicality of the game is much more different than basketball 20 years ago, and especially 40 years ago. And look, we get it. The NBA is a business, has to make money, and get younger fans, more casual fans. But of course, with casual fans who want to see scoring, three-pointers, 130, 140 points, the finer details of basketball, the defensive details, kind of get lost in the shuffle. And of course, pointing that out will get you labeled an old head or a hater, and someone who, quote, does not understand basketball.
If I'm being honest, bro, I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago. If I'm being 100, and this is to everybody in our league, Tatum, all y'all. Let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back.
It's really heavily weighted right now with a three-point shot. I think it's really heavily weighted towards scoring. However it happens, whether it's 100 free throws, whether it's 43s or whatever, they just want to see the numbers go up. And I think that's a bad strategy.
The physicality that was a part of the league. Hey, look, when you can put your hand on a guy's hip and make him go a certain way, if you can put that elbow in his chest to slow him up, which we call slowing a guy up when you coming down the lane, so how many guys can deal with that type of pressure?
Now look, to play devil's advocate, if you only know basketball from 2016 onwards, 2020 onwards, hearing those comments, yes, they seem like the players they are hating, and they're just taking a dump on the modern NBA. But of course, if you study the game, watch various eras, what they're saying is the truth. And look, a lot of our great players today, great offensive players, they are fantastic, phenomenal, they deserve their props. But you also gotta admit today's era is a freedom of movement era, the pace and space era, where the offensive players all the benefits, and the game is slanted towards them more so than the defense.
That's the difference from Sunday afternoon.
As SGA is going to go to the free throw line. And Garland commits the foul, takes a shot to the head.
Back and forth. Goes Reeves on its way. Late whistle. Oh, very late whistle.
That's terrible.
And looking at a recent NBA game, Hawks vs. Magic, the 7th vs. 8th seed game, this game down in Orlando had some pretty great defense from the Magic. Their on-ball pressure was fantastic, the physicality was there. They're playing basically playoff basketball. And looking at someone like Trae Young, who puts up gaudy stats in this era, like 25 points and 10 dimes with ease, Trae Young versus the Magic was dumbfounded by their defense and their physicality. And post-game was kind of complaining.
I'm not going to call them dirty players or anything like that. I think they have a lot of really talented players, but there's a lot of plays and moments that guys want to try to be more physical and to the point where it's not even necessarily basketball.
Hawks get a break right there. Magic lead it by 10, and Young going to work, missed it. Rewarding his coach for letting it ride. Young looking for the foul.
More physical.
Physicality.
So stopping Trae Young right there, getting a little bit of a taste of old school defense, 2000s, 90s defense. I mean, this guy was shell-shocked and totally out of his element. For a lot of players like Trae Young with his skill set, who kind of bend the rules, twist the game in their favor, if they faced this defense every single night, they would be a much different player. And for teams like Houston, Orlando, Detroit, the great defensive teams that are physical, If they're allowed to play their game this postseason, they're going to be very tough outs. But of course, on the flip side, if the refs are calling ticky-tack fouls, regular season calls, those teams in the postseason are going to have a very difficult time.
Contact from Thompson, down goes Brunson. Three-pointers have not had a huge impact here. Pistons are 4 of 21. The Knicks are 8 of 25. 4-point lead for Detroit. Brunson draws the foul on Harris. It's going to be 3 free throws.
There's good and there's not good. This is not good.
Like we see over and over again in the NBA, the refs, what they're calling, what they're not calling, can have a huge impact on the game as well as a series. And for guys who are more skill-based, kind of more finesse players, when they get that extra bump in the lane, extra kind of handshake on the perimeter, those guys are much different players. And don't take my word for it. Listen to Adam Silver, Steve Nash, even LeBron James. Guys who were all in the modern NBA having quote-unquote old head takes.
It was right at the right time because the rules were changing too. So you couldn't like have two hands on a guy anymore. You know, when I came in the league, you could like literally hold a guy's hip and chuck him.
Like, is the high scoring working? Is speeding the game up? I asked this with a follow-up because I want to know, will there ever be a time in our lives where the hand check comes back? Is that going? Is this kind of the wave in which we're going now?
I mean, you go across the lane, bam, like it was different, and that was the traditional way the game was played, that physicality.
The particular skill a player had and maybe weighted too heavily physicality, where a big, strong player could come in and prevent a incredibly skilled player from doing those kinds of things.
That was the traditional way the game was played, that physicality. You know, the league, I think, wisely wanted to make it a more free-flowing, open, highlight the athleticism.
So stopping Steve Nash right there, this guy in the mid-2000s was an offensive demon, and of course a two-time MVP. But of course, like Steve Nash said in that clip, the physicality, the grabbing, the holding back in the day, prior to the rule changes, he had a very difficult time. Steve Nash, still a great player. Under 90s rules, early 2000s rules, was a much different player, still a good player, but not MVP caliber. And who's the one guy they mentioned? Derek Harper. Derek Harper in his prime was a defensive menace. 1990 was all defensive second team. The version Derek Harper Steve Nash played, he was 33, 34, even 35 years old, not making all defensive teams. But despite Harper being a little bit older, a little bit slower, that hand-checking, grabbing, the holding could keep Steve Nash in check despite being more skilled, a faster player, and a younger player. When making cross-era comparisons, even the 90s versus the 2010s, I mean, it's very, very difficult. But looking at our modern NBA, kind of 2015 onwards, 2020 onwards, I mean, there's no way you can do it. So that right there is the end of the video. Kind of a short video, but a very important video nonetheless. As of course, looking at quote-unquote playoff basketball today, it's kind of like regular season basketball 15 years ago. For a lot of fans, including myself, that's not evolution. If anything, is the NBA devolving and getting easier for the offense. And the overall game, because that happening, has suffered in the process. And one last thing I will say regarding LeBron James and Steve Nash, them saying the older NBA was harder, more defensive, and of course, more physical. If someone like Charles Barkley or Shaq said that, they'd be deemed as a hater and written off as an old head. Just one point to note. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.